everyone, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and on that notification bell to stay updated with all our latest videos. Now, today we have got a juicy one for you. We are diving into a topic that's been the subject of tons of conversation, memes, and even some heated debates. That's right, we are talking about how Trump supporters instantly regret their vote and why. Plus, we will explore how people have been reacting to it. So, buckle up because this is going to be one wild ride.
I sell them at to make that up. So it's already started. And for people who didn't realize what a tariff was, you're about to find out, okay? Because it's going to affect everything that you buy. Because there's not a product on the shelf that doesn't have some element of it that comes from another country. So good luck.
And now we are starting to see large corporations also announce that they are going to have to implement massive job cuts and slash their sales forecasts for various reasons, one of them being due to incoming raises in prices due to Donald Trump's tariffs. We see here from Fortune. Nissan announces 9,000 job cuts and slashes sales forecasts as it faces severe situation. And this is due to Nissan's plummeting sales and also the fact that they are expecting higher and higher prices in the coming year due to these tariffs. They say the following. When asked about Donald Trump's victory in the U.S. presidential election, the CEO of Nissan said that the company was, quote, hearing various things like tariffs, but it's not just us. Quote, we'll be lobbying in the direction of our medium to long-term plans should remain, but we will conduct our business while monitoring the situation carefully. Here's a report in the Detroit News about Stellantis. Stellantis cutting 400 jobs at Detroit Parts Warehouse. Stellantis NV plans to cut about 400 union workers at an East Detroit warehousing facility early next year. The indefinite layoffs will affect all United Auto Workers represented employees at the Freud Street Parts Sequencing Facility, which is near the company's Detroit Assembly Complex Jefferson plant. Stellantis said it's transitioning operations to a third party. Quote, as Stellantis navigates a transitional year, the focus is on realigning the U.S. operations to ensure a strong start to 2025, said a statement on the layoffs sent by their spokesperson. Here is an article from CNN outlining the threat of Donald Trump's tariffs. Would have been nice if they did this before the election, but here's what they have to say right now. CNN writes, you will pay for Donald Trump's tariffs. Here is the proof. They say the following, but if you don't want to heed the many, many economists' warnings about former President Trump's fringe economic plans, take it from the people running the companies that make the stuff you buy. Prices will go up. How much and how fast is hard to know, but you could bet your bottom dollar that you'll be needing more dollars to pay for everyday goods if Trump's sweeping tariffs are put in place. Quote, if we get tariffs, we will pass those tariffs costs back to the consumer, said the CEO of AutoZone. AutoZone won't need to wait until the policies are enacted, the CEO noted, once they know what the markup will be. Quote, we generally raise prices ahead of that. And I want to share this as well. We've seen a lot of gamers getting the back of Donald Trump, especially these Gen Z gamers supporting Donald Trump. Well, we're now learning that the price of game consoles is about to spike because of Donald Trump's tariffs as well. Here are just some of the headlines going around the various tech publications. Here's one. Trump tariffs will make video game consoles up to 40% more expensive. Here's another. Console prices could skyrocket by 40% due to Donald Trump's victory. Tariffs can make a PS5, a PlayStation 5 Pro, cost up to $1,000, experts say. Here's another headline. Trump's proposed tariffs could hit gaming hard, study finds. Well, I guess it was all worth it, MAGA. Enjoy paying those higher costs while Elon Musk's net worth skyrockets to $313 billion this week, as estimated by Bloomberg after Donald Trump's election. And as Yashar Ali notes, when Musk reaches $401 billion, which is inevitable, he will become the richest man in history who is not a monarch or head of state, even when past fortunes are adjusted for inflation. His net worth will be around 1.4% of the GDP of the United States. Additionally, his network will fully exceed that of his birth country, South Africa. But sure, he's looking out for your best interests, MAGA. Okay, this is a Nigerian American who supported Donald Trump, had his back the whole way during the election. And following the election, he was in one of these MAGA chat rooms, these live chats with his fellow MAGA supporters. And a fellow Trump supporter told him that because he is black, he will never actually be accepted in the movement. Watch this.
MAGA family, I was on TikTok Live, and a fellow Trump supporter said that all he needed was my vote. I'll never be part of the MAGA family, and that I'm black, I'll never be accepted, but he just got my vote. Nah, that's crazy. Like, I love MAGA Nation, I love the MAGA family, and that breaks my heart that someone would speak to me like that right after the election, that all I was a vote? Nah, I love all you guys, and I know most of you MAGA family members are not racist, and I love you guys, and I'll keep repping MAGA Nation, Trump 2024, but that really broke my heart that some guy would say that. Extremely heartbroken.
And now I want to share with you this story written in the Statesman, statesman.com. They say the following, quote, an undocumented immigrant from Guatemala says the odds of Trump improving the economy is worth the potentially higher risk of deportation. Quote, Trump wants to deport people who do bad things. I have not broken any laws. I hate to say it, but have you been listening to this guy at all? Well, maybe I should show you at least what he's saying right now and what his supporters are saying right now, what the people who are going to implement these policies and result in your deportation are saying right now. Here's Senator-elect Jim Banks dismissing concerns of the business community about deporting as many as 15 million people in the United States, saying, quote, a mandate is a mandate. Watch this.
Who will say, we need these people. They are workers that really fuel our businesses. And then aside from business, just even taking agriculture as an example, I want to read a quote from Michael Marsh, President and CEO of the National Council of Agriculture Employees. He says, from an employer standpoint, you're very concerned when you hear somebody talk about deporting a significant amount of the existing workforce. What do you say to him and others who really do rely, even hospitality, who rely on these undocumented migrants?
A mandate is a mandate, and the president winning the popular vote on Tuesday is a strong signal that this is what the American people, the public, expects us to do. And only Republicans who completely misread the moment, who don't understand what the mandate means, and I don't think there are very many of them left in Congress.
Well, don't say we didn't warn you, MAGA. You broke it. You bought it. Trump and Republicans are about to control every lever of the government, so I don't want to hear any excuses as this all continues and they start to feel the fallout of their choices. But in the meantime, here's what we're going to do. We are going to hold Trump accountable. We are going to expose him every...
Me. I never thought the leopards would eat my face. No, I never thought the leopards would eat my face. Well, I turned my back on my own kind, but I somehow thought that I'd be fine. No, I never thought the leopards would eat my face. Slow it down now.
Watching like MAGA women say that they voted to protect their daughters, meanwhile MAGA men and boys are sitting there screaming, your body, my choice. And like, you don't hear any of the MAGA women commenting on that? Y'all don't have nothing to say about that? Oh, I'm voting to protect my daughter. No, you didn't. Oh, the leopards would never eat my face. Yeah, they're gonna eat your face and your daughter's face. Get fucked.
Yeah, I really hope that this is not a FAFO, or whatever you say, that moment for the food industry in America. Because you gotta laugh to keep from crying. If we import all these things for our restaurant, all these goods, vegetables and fruits for the restaurants, and then the solution is let's grow them here. I need you to go talk to a farmer right now, especially one who uses undocumented immigrants to harvest their fruits and vegetables, which is like a lot of them, the majority of them. Yo!
Some Republicans just found out today what Elon Musk had said before the election about us all facing temporary hardship. They then looked to the stock market to see what was going on there, and the experts are saying, and their only question is, what about my retirement? What about your retirement?
They've actually done it. They've actually elected a psychopath to be president. Well, I guess all we can do is sit back and wait for them to have that find out phase. Eggs are so much cheaper now. Thank you, President Orange. We love you. The factory is announcing layoffs right before Christmas because of the tariffs coming up. Darn you, China. We love you, President Orange. We lost our health insurance right in the middle of my husband's chemotherapy treatments. But at least we can be happy knowing that our tax dollars didn't help some other guy get insurance. Thank you, President Orange. We love you.
It finally happened. It finally happened. I saw propaganda in real time. So let me explain. People ran around saying the reason they voted a certain way was for a better economy, for cheaper gas and groceries. They have to have that. They aren't doing well. They need cheaper gas and groceries. But now, people who will be making the same exact amount of money, who aren't going to be doing any better, are now running around saying, I am okay with paying more money for gas and groceries because the more money I'm paying goes to protecting the border. And unfortunately, that's not true. Really, all you're doing is paying more money for the same product. You have just increased the product. The extra money you are spending is going to buy the product. It's not going to anything else because they've increased the price of the product through tariffs. Like, honestly, it's probably not even me worth saying that to begin with, because the people who want to justify this will always justify it, and they're not listening to this, so I shouldn't have even bothered explaining what's happening, but whatever. So this reminds me a lot of George Orwell's Animal Farm, where, they were like, our lives are miserable, we need to make a change. So they make a change, and then they end up being even more overworked, more hungry. And then they're like, we're more overworked, we're more hungry. And then the pigs are like, no, you're not. You're doing great. Like, life is better now. Don't you see how life is better? And then the animals are like, you're right. Life is better. We are doing better. Life is so much better. We are doing better. Even though they were doing worse. And everyone who read that book was like, how do they not see it? How can they not see it? And the truth of the matter is they can't see it because they will use any amount of justification, any amount of thoughts, words to justify everything. They don't want to be reasoned with. They just want to think everything that is going on is true. They don't want to look into it. They don't want to figure it out. And that's really the truth of the matter, is the FAFO, it's not really going to work out to the people who actually need to find out, because they are justifying it for themselves. They will figure out any way to make it better. They'll be like, no, I'm so glad we're paying more money. Oh no, I am eating more. I am less hungry. I am whatever. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, because they are justifying anything and everything to make it so they're happy in their heads, because nothing will ever be figured out for them.
The worst part about this fuck around and find out is that I have to find out even though I didn't fuck around.
I've been following the evolution of Trump's presidency closely since day one, and I have to say, this entire situation with former Trump supporters regretting their vote is fascinating, yet not entirely surprising. When Trump was elected in 2016, it seems like an entire demographic of the American population felt like they finally had a voice in Washington. These were people who believed that Trump was going to drain the swamp, bring jobs back to America, make strong deals abroad, and put America first. But as we have seen over the past few years, some of these promises didn't quite play out the way they expected. Now, with the 2024 election approaching, the wave of regret from former Trump voters seems to be growing, and the reason behind these regrets are pretty varied and honestly eye-opening. One of the biggest reasons people are voicing their regrets about voting for Trump is related to healthcare. During his campaign, Trump made big promises about repealing Obamacare and replacing it with something better. He painted this picture of affordable, accessible healthcare that would somehow lower costs while improving the quality of care. Many of his supporters, especially those in rural areas or working-class communities, were all in on this idea because they were tired of rising premiums and felt left behind by the healthcare system. But what ended up happening? Trump's attempt to dismantle Obamacare fell flat, and even though he promised lower healthcare costs, premiums continued to rise, and insurance providers pulled out of some areas. What is striking here is the level of disappointment. People voted for Trump because they believed he would deliver on this one promise that felt like it could change their lives. When they didn't see it happen, and instead saw a series of attempts that went nowhere, it led to disappointment. For many, healthcare is a personal issue that affects their family directly, and when you have been promised something better only to get more of the same, or in some cases worse, it feels like a betrayal. Those who had voted for Trump with the expectations of significant healthcare reform are now grumbling with the fact that things didn't improve the way they hoped. And these voters hasn't quiet about it. They have been vocal, whether on social media, in interviews, or in private discussions. The second reason I think people are regretting their vote is tied to Trump's economic policy. We can't ignore that Trump's tax cuts were a key part of his appeal. For a lot of working-class Americans, he sold the idea that his tax policy would create jobs, reinventalize industries, and put more money in their pocket. But here's the thing, while tax cuts did help corporations and the wealthy, many of these promises he made about creating sustainable jobs and bringing manufacturing back to the US didn't materialize the way people expected. We saw the stock market grow under Trump, but many regular Americans didn't feel the trickle-down effect. In fact, many workers in Rust Belt states who were initially drawn to Trump's American First historic saw factories close down, jobs disappear, and entire communities left behind. The promises of bringing back manufacturing jobs were one of the pillars of Trump's campaign, but the reality was that automation, outsourcing, and a changing global economy were still major forces that didn't just go away. Some of the voters we are hoping that Trump's approach to trade and tariffs would create more American jobs, but when they looked around, they saw businesses downsizing, late falls, and stagnant wages. At the same time, the tax cut for corporations didn't seem to create as many opportunities for people at the bottom of the ladder. The benefit didn't reach them the way they thought they would, and for those in lower income brackets, the disparity between what was promised and what was delivered has led to significant regrets. However, many voters who supported Trump for his foreign policy found themselves uncomfortable with his actions. The idea of a strong America on the world stage is appealing to many, but Trump's handling of some international crises was often seen as a chaotic and unpredictable. While some of his supporters still defend his bold moves, others grew concerned that his style of diplomacy was too volatile, especially when it led to tension with NATO, trade wars, and instability in places like the Middle East. The shift from diplomatic norms to a more erratic approach made some voters realize that the promises of a strong America on the global stage came with significant risks and contradictions. Some voters now feel like they were sold a bill of goods when it comes to the promises of better international relations and strength. Lastly, let's talk about Trump's environmental policy, which also led to a lot of regret among his supporters. Trump was notorious for rolling back environmental regulations, withdrawing from the Paris Agreement, and generally taking a dismissive stance toward climate change. For younger voters, and particularly many of whom are deeply concerned about the environment, this was a huge letdown. The idea of addressing climate change through policy that protected the environment was something many hoped for under a Trump presidency, but the reality was quite different. For these voters, Trump's environmental record didn't just feel like a missed opportunity, it felt like a step backward. They watched as environmental protection was gutted, national momentums were reduced, and federal lands were opened for exploitation. For those who believed that Trump would somehow balance economic growth with environmental responsibilities, the realization that he was prioritizing short-term gains over long-term sustainability was a bitter pill to swallow. So how have people been reacting to these regrets? It's interesting to see how this plays out. On one hand, you have got the die-hard Trump loyalties who will continue to defend him no matter what. They argue that the media and the so-called establishment are just out to get him and that is being unfairly treated by everyone. These people often point to his success like the economic pre-pandemic, the tax cuts, and his Supreme Court appointments as reason why his presidency was successful. Thank you for watching, and let us continue this conversation in the comments below. Let us share our thoughts and perspective with one another. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell to stay updated on this story and more. I will see you in the next video.